Hello, good morning. How are you? I hope you're all well. I hope you're getting on well on the course. I hope Guinea-Bissau is okay. I hope the weather is not too hot. Here in London, it's freezing cold. It's about 1 degree or 2 degree. There's lots of snow around and frost, and it's getting to be the middle of winter. Okay, here is the literature session for this week. Let me share my screen and introduce the lesson. Okay, this is my 4th session in the literature course, and today it's stories from history. Okay, now this is a sort of technique in teaching English, teaching languages, called CLIL, C-L-I-L, and that stands for Content Language Integrated Learning. So when we're reading, when we're teaching English, and when we're learning more things as well, this is doing 2 things at the same time, and it's worth twice as much. So we can actually teach content in an English class by the sort of texts that we bring in. And this is an example of this CLIL learning today. We're going to go through this lesson, which you could use with students or something similar. And we're going to focus on the literature, which is the stories from history. Okay? Again, please pause the video when I say pause to give you time to do the tasks. Let's begin. Did you do your homework last week? I set you homework to read from my website, the EE Wiki. I'd like you to pause the video now for 5 minutes to tell your partner in pairs what you read from the EE Wiki. Okay, pause now. Okay, what did you read? Did you all read the same things, different things? Did you find it easy to get the website on your phones or on a laptop? Did you find the reading too difficult or too easy? Remember, you can click on the link to the original at the bottom to read the more difficult one, and that really improves reading by reading more difficult language and grammar. Please carry on reading. There are hundreds and hundreds of articles from that website, and the best homework, I think, from this literature course is reading. Try to spend 2 or 3 hours every week reading. So today's lesson, we're showing how we can link language work to reading lessons. We're going to do some speaking, time phrases, reading, grammar, and more speaking. And this is to show how we can link language with literature. They're not separate, are they? They're very, very linked. And all of these types of ways of exploiting texts we can use in the classroom with our learners for teaching English. Okay, so let's start. This is the first task. How many questions? Okay, 3 questions. I want you to pause the video in a minute and in pairs discuss with your partner the answers to these 3 questions. 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you think is best. Please pause now. Okay. Now, why are we speaking before we do the reading? How is speaking related to reading and literature? I think it's really important because when you predict what you're going to read beforehand, when you get interested when you raise interest in the topic with students, you're much more likely to understand and be interested in what you're going to read. Did you agree with your partner? Do you know a lot about world history? Maybe, maybe not. And the third question, which period of history do you think was best? Now, what does best mean? Best in what way? Best for who? This is what we're going to be reading and talking about. Did you look at the cartoon, the picture? This is supposed to be funny. This is English humor. And it's a picture of the early trade unions. Did they have unions in ancient Egypt? So this is imaginary, the Ancient Egyptian Association of Stonemasons. And somebody says, so you want to use us, our children and our grandchildren, as slave labor to build a monument to you? No. Do you think they had unions in ancient Egypt? Do you think if they had them, they would have said something like this to the pharaoh, the king? These are the questions we're going to be reading and talking about. Okay, so this is interesting, real take on historical topics. Right. I want you to think more carefully about history now and put these historical times in order of date. So the oldest one first, and discuss how equal you think the societies were. Okay, so which one was the first one? Put them in order. Which one is the most recent one? So put A, B, C, D, E in order of time, date, and then think about equality in these societies. Okay, pause the video now to do that task. 5 minutes or 10. Okay, so we're getting more specific understanding. It doesn't matter if you don't know. This is just practicing English and predicting and seeing what other people think about the background. It really doesn't matter if you don't know much about these at all. Okay, so the next bit is a task to match. Can you please match the red ones with the purple ones? Match the times in red with the descriptions in purple. So let's try one together. Okay, let's try G in Roman times. What does G match with in Roman times? What do you think? When were the Romans in power? Okay, I think it was 2 between 45 BC and 500 AD. Try to match the others. Pause now to match. Okay, what did you think? I'm going to show you the answers now. These are the answers. Do you agree? It doesn't matter if you don't know. Okay, so these are looking at time phrases: in the year, about so-and-so years ago, prepositions in with the year, from something to. So you could look at these time phrases to get them right. And meanwhile, we're also learning a little bit more about the past and history. Language and content, integrated learning. Okay, let's move on. We're going to do 5 readings now, and you're going to read quickly. I think you don't like reading quickly, but this is really, really good practice at dealing with literature. We're going to find out how equal these people were in history in the past. So I'm going to show you a screen and I'm going to give you 1 minute only, 1 minute to read each screen. Okay, later you can read for more detail, but this is practice at skimming through quickly just to find out the answers to the questions above the text. Let's try. Okay, number 1, there's one question, okay? How equal were hunter-gatherer societies and why? And you have the text, you have 1 minute to find the answer. Go. Okay, so tell your partner now, how equal were the hunter-gatherer societies and why? You can pause now to tell your partner. Okay, did you read quickly? Did you read aloud? Did you read silently? Now, obviously, if we're reading a lot, you have to read silently because people read at different speeds. And it's a really good skill to read through, look through to find the answer as quickly as possible. Let's try again for the next one. Okay, this time it's about Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, and Indus Valley civilizations. Indus Valley was in Pakistan, okay? So find out the answers to the questions, 1 minute only, go. Okay. Did you read more quickly this time? Did you find the answer? Because looking to find an answer is a much better way of reading than just reading for no purpose and then thinking about the answer. We need to be focused in our reading. Okay, number 3, let's try again. So this time we're looking at the Roman Empire and China. How equal were those societies? What was the proof? Pause for 1 minute now. Okay. Okay. So we're finding out more about equality. Tell your partner what you think the answer is. Okay, it's really good to read and then explain to someone else. So what you're reading is going in your head, through your brain, being processed and coming out again. It's a really good, productive way of checking what you've read and understood. Next one, number 4. Industrialization. Okay, so this was in the 19th century in Europe, for example. How equal were people then? Read for 1 minute, then tell your partner. You can pause now. Okay. Did you agree with your partner? Are you getting faster at focusing on the answer and reading quickly? Last one, number 5. This is Victorian Britain and the British Empire. and capitalism now. Okay, 1 minute to read and then discuss with your partner. You can pause now. Okay, did you agree? Right, okay, so now you can go back to all of these if you want to read them again. First reading, quick, just to get the general idea. Second reading, slower to understand more if you want to, but still silently, because you can understand a lot more when you read silently than reading aloud. Okay, you can go through these again if you want to, but now we want to link grammar practice to reading. Which tense do we need to use? Of course, the past simple, because we're talking about the past. A lot of people make mistakes with grammar with the past simple and use the present instead. We can't do that in English. So we have to practice using the past tense. Can you create sentences to summarize the different times in history and how equal the people were? Here are some verbs in red that you can use to talk about those different times in history. And if you want to go back to the reading texts, you can. Okay, pause now for 10 minutes in pairs to write as many sentences as you can. I would say at least 6, okay? Okay, how are your sentences? Did you check with other people if they are correct or not? Check the past tenses, check the meaning, check punctuation, prepositions, spelling, for example. If you need more time to check them, you can pause the video again now. Okay. Right, here are some more mistakes to correct. How good are you at correcting mistakes? These are not difficult. Pause the video for 5 minutes and tell your partner where the mistakes are and how to correct it. Okay, now. Okay, did you find all the mistakes with verbs? Verbs are really, really important. So we have to focus on the verbs. We as teachers, we have to get the verbs and tenses correct. And we need to focus learners on the verbs and tenses in context too. Let's check to see if you were correct. Oops, I haven't got the, sorry. So number 1, it should be people were, because it's plural, yeah? Number 2, couldn't keep, not couldn't kept. It's the infinitive after to. And used to share, not used to sharing. 2 mistakes in number 2. Number 3, started making, with the ing form after start. Number 4, they made slaves build the pyramids. No 2, made slaves build. And number 5, some of the very old societies that we don't know much about were, not was, plural, were far more sustainable. For example, the Indus Valley civilizations, which did not leave, had not left, did not leave, past simple, because it's not before something in the past, it's just simple past. Did you find all those mistakes? Good. Okay. Now we need to relate what we've been reading and speaking and writing about to us. It's really important to relate literature, what you're reading, what you're talking about, what you're writing about, to your own situation. So let's talk now about Guinea-Bissau and Africa in general. We've got 5 questions here. Can you find a different partner, a new partner, or maybe in threes if you prefer? And can you discuss these 5 questions? You can relate back to the literature, to the little stories about the past that you read if you want to. So pause the video now to discuss. Okay. Do you agree? Okay. Let's have a look at this cartoon here. Now this is related to the present time with capitalism. Underneath the cartoon, it says, "A rising tide lifts all boats." Which is this referring to? What topic? It's talking about refugees, migrants. In capitalism, the politicians say that if the rich get richer, everybody gets richer. But in this picture, of course, we see that that is not true. A rising tide lifts all boats, does it? A rising tide is good for the expensive boats, but it's not good for the poorer boats where people suffer so much in inequality. Okay, homework. I want you this week, please, to think about everything we've read in the first 4 sessions. We've done poetry, a true story, a short story, and stories from history. Of course, you can watch the videos again. You can look at the PowerPoints. And I want you to think about these 3 questions. Next week, we're going to look at them. So, how do we read best? How can we help students to read better? And how can we stage reading lessons? Okay, 3 questions to think about before next week. I've also decided, and I've told you on the WhatsApp group, that your homework from the literature course is mainly to read. Try to read as much as possible every week. Read on your phones, read any books you can get hold of, or books in the American corner. Share books. And for example, read your book, Things Fall Apart, which you got on PDF. You can get lots of other books on PDF from the internet if you get books and share them, or if you want to ask me for more books to read. Okay, so lots of reading, as much reading as possible. See you soon. Bye.